Good morning, live coffee with Rich here on a beautiful rainy Friday morning in the Smoky Mountains. I am on vacation, but I really wanted to talk to my good friend Phil Strader this morning, who, if you don't know who Phil Strader is, you probably have been carrying a gun for very long, because he is well known in this industry and well known in this generation of shooters. And we're going to talk more about Phil's background in just a moment. But before I do, let's give everybody a second to get on. And while they're getting on, let's talk about some of our sponsors this morning, man. Mountain Man Medical. You know, I was on a hike yesterday with my family, and I tell you what, if you're not ready for those times when trauma comes out of nowhere, you're really not as prepared as you think you are. So check out Mountain Man Medical. Use our promo code. And probably the easiest thing to do is just go to AmericanWarriorShow.com and click on the link for a discount. And if you don't know who I am Rich Brown, the co-host and co-founder of the American Warrior Society and American Warrior Show, America's #1 self-defense podcast. So I've got 14 folks jumping on this morning. Good morning. American Warrior Society says, wow, the retards got it to work. That is Mr. Mike Seeklander. It would appear that he is on.
Yeah. Well, I was on the old link, but you know, what are you going to do?
Oh, yeah. So 14 folks on live. Please like and share. You're not going to want to miss this one. I know Mr. Mike Seeklander's not going to want to miss it. He's still kicking us for a little technology difficulties. John is on from Oklahoma, coin number 1919. If you want to find out what a coin number is, check out AmericanWarriorSociety.com. Take a free 14-day trial and see what you think. Dan is on. He says from Flowery Branch, Georgia, coin number 1968. Gerald out there in Oregon. All right. Please like and share. Phil, good morning. Welcome to Coffee with Rich.
Morning.
And for those of you who don't know, Phil is a former police officer, firearms instructor, 14 years as a police officer, 4 in Virginia, 10 with the United States Capitol Police. He's been a business owner. He's ran national level events. We're going to talk about all that. Pro-Am Shooting Championship. My God, Board of Directors for USPSA and USPSA President. Been at the top of the shooting sports since 2000, man. We are very excited to have you, brother.
Well, it sounds good when you read it, but I don't remember half of it, I don't think. Well, thanks for having me. This is my first, I think this is my first podcast since being president. So I think this is my first non-SIG related interview. And I'm going into work today, so I'm not here to represent SIG by any means, but I'm sure there will be some questions because it's been my latest gig thus far. But yeah, I haven't done one since working there, so this is my first. And you know, I felt horrible because I was watching a podcast, and this is probably going to get trolled a lot because I do troll Mike all the time. And when anyone I know is on, I usually just post these stupid questions, and now I'm probably going to get a little payback for that. But you know,
and for those of you who don't know, Phil, correct me if I'm wrong. Your title is Pistol Project Manager at Sig Sauer. Is that right?
Yeah. Pistol Product Manager technically, but I don't know. They make up so many different names for me. I mean, they were calling me a senior product manager for a while. It's just, you know, I'm a product manager. I basically, I've explained it to people in that the best way I can explain it is I'm like the gun's parent, right? I think about having the kid, and then I have the kid's birthed, and you know, I raise it, try to make it healthy, and then I, you know, send it to school and send it to college, and it goes and gets a job and it starts making money. All that happens really quick, obviously, and at some point I have to kill my kid, you know. So I basically manage the entire lifestyle of life cycle of the products that I manage. And in my case, it's polymer pistols. You know, 320 and 365 are my two big ones, and that's my job. So it's very involved. It's a lot going on. It's one of those jobs that if the Bobs were ever to interview me and give me what is it you say that you do here, I really don't know how to answer it because it's a little bit of everything. You know, I work with people that say, well, are you in marketing? I was, well, Sort of, yeah. I work with marketing and sales and R&D and sustaining and everyone, industrial design. So it's a lot, but I love it. I mean, the job's really cool, and my bosses are awesome. I work for an incredible group of people, and they're smart, and they almost always let me do what I want. They try to nudge me back into the lane every now and then, but sometimes I listen, sometimes I don't. But it's a good job.
Yeah, I wanted to get into some of the. I mean, I know we won't go into too much detail because you're here as Phil, not necessarily obviously not as a representative Sig, but because you kind of did give birth to the 320. I did want to talk about your baby a little bit if we could, but not necessarily right at this moment. I wanted to really let's go back to the beginning, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Phil, and we'll go from there.
Well, it's pretty standard stuff. I went to college in UNC, graduated from there with a pre-law degree. I had, the plan was my goal was to be in the Secret Service. I don't know why. It just seemed cool. We always question why we want to become police officers, and that was just the cool thing. And I think that's kind of when the In the Line of Fire movie was coming out, maybe a little bit. I was going to school before that, but be that as it may, I had friends that were in that my dad had friends that were in law enforcement, and they had talked to me about it. I was blind, though. I was legally blind. I couldn't see. So that was a huge problem, obviously. And the Secret Service, they had a very strict eyesight requirement, much like all federal agencies, simply because, the shootout in Miami with the FBI and in the 80s, that became because that guy lost his glasses, and all of a sudden, everyone had to see like eagles, like Mike. He had good eyes. Now he's blind as old people, but be that as it may, I was going to go to I wanted to go to law school, and the actual plan was to graduate from college, and work a year or so as a police officer. And I was going to try to go to law school with my cousin. He and I were very, very close. He got into law school. I decided not to go because I was a police officer back in the day making, 18, 19 grand a year, which wasn't a lot, obviously. But that's what we got paid in the South as a police officer. But, I was going to go from making almost 20 grand a year to spending 20 grand a year to go to law school. It became questionable. So I just didn't do it. I ended up not doing it. It's probably a good thing, although my cousin lives in a mansion and he's wealthy and I am way not. So maybe I made the wrong decision, but you can't second guess your decisions in life. But I did my police time, and during that time I had a lot of eye surgery. This was back in the early 90s. So there was one type of corrective eye surgery, and it was RK. You do it with a knife. And a lot of people don't know my eye story. They don't know the story behind what happened. How did my eyes get so bad? And I don't know. I had a head injury. That explains a lot as a kid. And my eyes swelled shut for a long time. And when I recovered, I just couldn't see anymore hardly. And so I had a bunch of surgeries on my left eye. And it took over the course of a year through all these surgeries and these 22 scars that they put on my cornea to try to fix my vision. It finally got corrected. It took a year to do it. So because of that time, I flew to Canada to do this new thing called PRK, or excimer laser surgery, which is now the old way to do it. And it was done by the guy who invented what do they call it? LASIK. The guy that pioneered the surgery is the guy that did my right eye. He did it right, and it was perfect right from the start. So because of all that eye surgery, I was, by the time I had it done, there were a lot of federal agencies that were mandating that no eye surgery would be allowed. And the only I wanted to get into the federal system, right? I want to get into federal law enforcement. And the only federal agency in existence that would allow eye surgery patients in was the U.S. Capitol Police. So that's who I applied to. And I got in, as soon as I applied, I got in, and that was it. I mean, that was my start in the law enforcement. It was, in Danville PD, it was Danville, Virginia. It was not a great town. It's a lot of crime there. You wouldn't think it being as small as it is, but it was great to cut my teeth and to learn the job. And when I went to the Capitol, it was nice to have a break, because the Capitol Police, let's face it, it's not it's not your typical law enforcement job. There's a lot of posts. There's not a lot of activity until you get to a specialty assignment. And that's, eventually that's what I did. I did 2 years on the door, maybe a little less. And they saw my abilities with a firearm and they pulled me into the firearms training section. So for the last 8 years of my 10 at Capitol, I was sworn, and I still would go out on deployments and that kind of thing every now and then when like the president was on the Hill or, heads of state, they would pull me in as like the, in case of emergency, break glass guy. And I don't know why they thought I wasn't that bad. I wasn't a badass. I was just a guy who shot a lot, but they kind of equated it as the same thing, which is a mistake, as you all know. But be it as it may, I had a good time. I did 8 years as a firearms instructor. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself as an instructor. And of course, in that time, I did a few other things. But that was kind of my background in law enforcement. It's, and I'd love to say that, I'd love to say I know why I went in that direction, but I don't. It was just kind of the path that I chose, and I stayed with it for a while until, Mike offered me a new opportunity at the U.S. Shooting Academy, but that's probably skipping a few things, other things you wanted to talk about. But that's kind of my law enforcement story. Not much there. It's pretty boring.
No, not at all, man. I had no idea your eyes were that messed up. What was it like when you got?
They still are.
Well, I was going to ask you.
I've got trees out there, and I know there's leaves on them, but I can't see them. I can just see that they're green, and that's about all I can see. That's it.
That's crazy, man. Because to watch you shoot, you would think your freaking eyes are incredible.
Well, they're not. I can see. I can't see my sights very well. My front sight's very blurry. My rear notch is very blurry. But if you just blind the one blurry thing into the other blurry thing, then you can usually hit what you're aiming at. Actually, the funny thing is when I shoot sports like Bianchi Cup, I actually change eyes. So I'll go from like, there's your camera. So I usually shoot like this. The gun's in front of my left eye. But when I shoot Bianchi Cup, I close my left eye. Of course, the screen's reversed. No, it's not. So I close my left eye. I'll shoot with my right eye because my right eye, the one that got fixed in Canada by Jeffrey Machette, by the way, if you want to look him up, he's quite good. If he's still alive, who knows? That was so long ago. My right eye is so good that I can shoot the cup with it. And the Bianchi Cup, it doesn't matter. You're not doing crazy swings. It's not a lot of speed involved. Same thing for PPC. I'd use my right eye. So I just close the left and shoot with the right, and I can see the sights better. It's crazy. It's just the craziest thing. And when I shoot rifle and shotgun, obviously, it's very easy for me just to close an eye or squint a little bit and use my right eye. So my body wants me to shoot with my right eye. But I've been training I trained so long doing this cross-eye dominance thing that when I'm shooting under speed, when I'm swinging to a target, my gun literally just remembers to index between the target and my left eye. So if there's any kind of swinging involved, it's got to be with my left eye. It's a mess. It's just a total disaster. But yeah, that's a lot of people don't know that. And then the problem is they start talking about eye dominance, and I'm like, look, I don't know how to answer that question. I know I'm right eye dominant because I can't see with this eye, but I've learned to shoot with this eye because this eye used to be blind and this eye used to be marginal. So I had to learn how to shoot with that eye because I couldn't see out of this eye. Yeah. So it was a mess, dude. I'm just a train wreck, but it's a miracle that it's a miracle that I'm looking at the comments, by the way. It's a miracle that I've done as well as I've done. And Mike's stupid lander likes to attribute it to my strength. I have odd amounts of strength in my hands and wrists, my wrists actually. So, it's weird. I'm an anomaly. What is Mike and Robbie did some sort of interview, and they were talking about me the year I won the single stack nationals, and I did it with no practice. That was a crazy year. I shot one club match in April, and then I shot 24 rounds of Robbie's ammo into the grass berm, and I went and won the nationals against the toughest field in the country, in the toughest match in the country. And no one could understand why. I didn't know why. I was like, I don't know. It just happened. And they just say I'm a strange anomaly.
Yeah, that has probably happened never in the history of shooting sports, I would imagine.
Never. No. Well, I did the same thing at the very first Steel Nationals. I did the exact same thing. I showed up. It was an early match. I was like, God, it was early. I don't want to shoot. And I just showed up. I literally hadn't touched the gun. And I don't know, Mike was there. Mike Seeklander was there. He saw it. And it was the craziest thing I'd ever done. It was much more impressive than the single stack nationals victory, although not on paper, but to be there, it was bananas. I set 3 records that have never been set with a limited gun, with an iron sight gun, right out of the box, and I hadn't touched the gun. When I first drew the gun in the safe area, it almost fell out of my hands. I was like, oh, it's been a long time since I've drawn this gun out of the holster. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have an explanation. I can, I'm sure people are going to have questions about practice regiments and dry fire and that kind of thing. And I can answer a lot of it because I did dry fire a lot. And there were times where I did shoot a lot with one of my best friends, Ron Francisco, and I used to shoot a lot together. When we were Capitol Police officers, and of course when we shot competitively together. But I would shoot a match a lot on the weekends. I'd shoot all the time competitively. But yeah, my eyes are a train wreck, and it's a miracle that I've gotten where I've gotten. And sorry to make this all off the rails. We had a list of questions, and I knew this would happen because I talk a lot. But
we'll get to them. So yeah, Seeklander says he can't shoot good because of his eyes. He shoots good because of his dummy strength and no brain. That makes it easy for him. Phil, there are those that said, can you imagine what Phil could accomplish if he just practiced?
Yeah, they're not wrong. But, look, I've had that question asked so many times by so many people, including most of the top shooters. And maybe I'm not driven, and it's a shame on me, for not being driven. I shoot for different reasons than a lot of people do. A lot of people strive for perfection, and they strive to do this and that, and I get it. I mean, I do understand that, and honestly, I think I was like that in the early 2000s. I think I was like that, but now I just do it because it's fun. I don't get to see Mike anymore. I don't get to see Latham anymore. I hardly ever get to see Ron and Turtle and all my old Shooters Paradise teammates and all my friends. So for me, it's more of and all of my friends, literally all of them, are either work friends or and that's not very many, but almost all of them are shooting friends. And God, at my wedding in 2001, I had my own groom's cake in the shape of an IPSC target or USPSA target. It was crazy. I mean, my whole life has revolved around this industry, the shooting industry. So for me, it's a social experiment. I love spending time with all my friends. I like meeting new people. I just shot with the limited super squad this year. Very undeserved. I should not have been there. I got my butt kicked. But I did finish in the top 16, which is kind of a cool thing. Way better than last year. Holy moly. But got to meet a lot of new, young, limited shooters, and just really fun to watch them and realize how old I really am, unless I'm shooting with Rob. That's why I like shooting with Rob so much. I don't like the guy, screw that guy, but he's really old and he makes me feel really young. So yeah, I just love it. I love shooting. I love the social experiment. And when I don't like it anymore, when I'm not shooting well, which is a lot, although I did shoot a match Sunday, shot really well, an indoor match, but when I'm not shooting well, I am not having fun. So when everyone asks, hey man, at least you're having fun. No, I'm not having fun. If you shoot badly and you say you're having fun, you're a crazy person.
Yeah.
And it's just the way it is. I'm sorry. I know this is going to catch a lot of heat, but if you shoot badly, you're not having fun. Now, you may be enjoying the experience of shooting the match, but if you go out there and you trash a stage, you don't walk away from the stage going, no. If you do, then stop shooting because you're nuts and you're going to lose it and you're going to kill everybody one day. So please, I'm sorry to be the guy to tell you this, but it's not fun to shoot badly. But it is fun. The experience is fun because I get to see my friends in it. So I shoot for weird reasons, and I have no idea how we got to that subject. So. Well,
I was going to say, Phil, I don't know if you're like Mike. Mike will get moody and stay moody for a month if he shoots a stage badly.
I'm not like Mike. I do get mad at myself, but I get mad at myself for other things. Like, I know what Mike's the same way. We know what we're capable of, right? And it's just a matter of, can we repeat what we know we're capable of under pressure? And I think Mike gets mad at himself, not because of his ability, because Mike's just a great shooter, but I think Mike gets mad at himself because he he lets the pressure get to him, right? And he hates that he can't always control the effect that pressure has on him. I don't know. I don't know. Mike's a different guy. He's extremely intense. We call him a little burner. He hates it. He reminds me a lot of Jerry Barnhart back in the day. I used to shoot with Jerry a couple times. He was great, but he was very intense. And Mike is intense, and it's a good thing. That's how he operates. But we are completely opposite on the range. I am there to have fun. I like to enjoy myself. If I win, awesome. If I don't, so what? No one's going to remember. That's the thing. No one remembers who won the 2015 single stack nationals except me and Robbie and Nils and a few other people that may have been in the run. Jacob Hetherington. The top guys remember. We know, right? We know that one because it was an anomaly. Well, how did this retard win? But what we know, tiny circle of a tiny group of people know. Everyone else, nobody cares. Nobody gives a crap. I couldn't tell you who won the limited nationals 3 years ago. I can tell you the nationals that I've lost by doing something dumb or that kind of thing, but we only know that. No, but not everyone knows. But yeah, Mike and I are very different. We're very close friends, but we do approach matches way differently. And it's the same thing when we practice together. When we practice together, he hated practicing with me. It was the worst for him because I'd just go out there and he would annihilate me in practice. And he's just, because he's just a machine. He just does these drills, and I would just go in there and whatever. I'd mess around and screw up the drill, and he'd beat me literally almost every time. But then we go to a match, and I would put a different level of focus on the performance side of it. For me, the practice side was just, okay, all I'm thinking about when I'm practicing live fire is what is the gun looking like when I'm shooting, right? Am I tracking the sights the right way? Because I know how to do all the other mechanical crap. That's easy to learn. You just got to do it. Usually I do it with an unloaded gun, but we can reinforce with the loaded gun. But I was always just thinking about the shooting part of it. And even then I was not as focused. So he hated it. He hated track practicing with me. We do like teaching together though, I think, because we're so different. We approach teaching this kind of the same way we approach shooting, where he's very focused. And we talked about this yesterday, or whatever we talked the last time, is he's very focused. His information is the best there is. Mike is the best instructor, besides me, of course, but Mike is the best instructor of anyone I've ever met. Robbie's very good too, but Mike his information is so good, but he delivers it in a way that doesn't connect with everybody. And when I was with him, let's face it, we're saying the same thing. We're all saying the same stuff. So it's just a matter of how you say it, how you connect to the students. And some people just don't connect with Mike. They're just like, God, he's dry and he's boring and he's mean all the time. He's scary. Most people don't. I mean, he teaches type A guys. If he's teaching meat eaters, they're fine with it. But some people aren't that. And I don't appeal to all the shooters. I don't appeal to the type A, Timmies that want to take it seriously. And this is training. This is real world. No, come on. We're just teaching you gun handling and we'll worry about the defense stuff later. But, so I think that's why Mike and I work so well together. Our classes, we always got great reviews. And I think that's why Mike and Robbie are such a good team, because Robbie probably brings that element of silliness and jovialness. I mean, he's a fat old dude who's funny to look at. So obviously people like teaching with him. And Mike just said fire and ice. That's what we used to call ourselves. Yeah. I think I was fire. I think I was. Because that's cooler. He was more ice because he's cold and mean. And I don't know. We've still never figured that out, but I think I'm fire.
Yeah, it's funny. We were out in Arizona last week, Mike and I, and we had dinner with Rob Latham a couple of times, and your name came up, and there was some F words associated with it. We won't get into. Let's see. Thank you.
He's saying a lot of bad stuff. Wow, he's really active. He's talking about my intelligence and wow.
It's not very nice. Hey, thank you to the 20 folks that are joining us live, and thank you to everyone that will watch in the replay on YouTube and in the coming podcast. Please like and share. We are just getting started with Mr. Phil Strader, and if you're just joining, Phil Strader is a multi-time national champion, and he is also pistol product manager. I believe I got that right at Sig Sauer. Very happy to have him. Phil, I want to talk about how did you end up owning Shooter's Paradise?
I had some money stashed away. My wife and I were saving a lot of money, doing pretty good, and I was going to buy a Corvette with it because I always wanted a Corvette. And I stopped and thought, I said, well, yeah, that's not a very good investment. And at the time, I had been somewhat involved with the shooting, the range and shooting and competing and seeing ranges here and there. I worked at an indoor range, and I thought that I could do a better job than the people that were running the one that was close to my house. And so I was told, I think a friend of mine, this is old, going way back, a friend of mine named Curtis Boggs, his wife was a realtor, I think, a business realtor. And he told me about this, Shooter's Paradise, and the place was a dump, and it was just awful. This is the worst range. It was just scary and dirty and dark. And I'd been there once before, and, they were asking, I don't know what I think they were asking like $400,000 or something for this place. And it was a big range. It was 18 ranges, I think, 18 or 19 bays, had a gun store and a classroom. It was in a shopping plaza. Now that's the kicker. And so I said, sure, let's take a look at it. And I looked around. I said, I think I can do something with it. So I took that money we had saved. I put it into a down payment on a small business loan. They accepted the offer I made. And in the rest is history. I took literally, I went in as a customer before I bought, when I bought the place, when it was finalized, no one knew about it. No one there. And no one knew who I was. So I walked in as a customer a couple times, and I was just watching nothing happen. I was watching nobody waiting on me and no one helping me. So I was observing, just watching, looking around. So, okay, who am I going to fire? And it was basically everyone, except there was one guy who stood out. His name was Jim Rowe, and he was a tall, good-looking, assertive guy, and he was the assistant manager. The manager was the owner's son. And, Brent was a good guy. He was. He was just not very motivated. He was just kind of there going through the paces. So I came in. I didn't really clear house, but I kind of did. But I made Jim the new manager, and it was the best choice I could ever made. He was a brilliant guy. He ran the store well. I was a full-time Capitol police officer at the time, so I couldn't be there most days. So I had to basically put it in his hands and have him run it. But I would go in. My schedule was like usually. When I bought the range, I was working at the shooting range. So I would work from 6 to 2:30, and I'd leave Capitol and drive down to Woodbridge, Virginia, go to the store, and I'd work till 10. Every single day I was working, a lot, 17 hours a day. My wife would come in with me. She was helping a lot. And it was a labor of love, really, but it was fun. I turned the range around. I put every dollar we made back into the range. Made some poor tax decisions. I did not have a good accountant, which was me, unfortunately. So when I came around to selling it, I didn't want to. And the place was going great. We had remodeled the range, remodeled the store. Classes were filled. The business was doing great. And this was right in the middle of, this was Clinton era. Was that right? Yeah, 03, 04, 05. So, yeah.
No, that was Bush.
No, that was Bush. That was Bush era. Bush era. Republicans are bad for the gun business, but we still did okay. We did pretty good. Everything was going well, and I was, my manager came to me and said, "Hey, this company wants to buy the range." I said, "Well, the range isn't for sale." So I was very quick about telling them that, and I basically we went back and forth, and I said, "Look, man, here, give them this. Tell them this. I'll sell it for this amount." Now, understand, I didn't own the building. I was in a mob-owned New Jersey trash company, waste removal company, mob-owned shopping center. I was paying $10,000 a month. The only thing that I owned was the inventory and the name, and that was it. So I made some unreasonable number. I said, just tell them, if they pay me this, I'll think about it. He came back minutes later and said, yep, they're in. So, oh my gosh. And then another company, this was a security company, right? So they had security officers they had to train. So they were going to corner the market, I think. And other security companies found out about it. And then they started getting into this bidding war. So they started bidding the price up. And one just wanted the range, and they were going to sell everything, get rid of everyone, and have the range itself. I didn't go for that. I said, no, you got to keep my people hired for at least 1 year. I was trying to take care of my people, and you got to keep it running as a store. And eventually I sold it. Made pretty good money on it. I mean, my return on my investment was huge. So yeah, I did really well. And during that time, obviously, I still was involved in the shooting sports. We had shooting competitions. We had shooting competitions actually there at the range every Tuesday night. I was sponsoring people. I was sponsoring Ron Francisco and Todd Sindelar, local shooters. No one big at the time, anyway. Julie Golub now. A lot of people don't know this, and she'll probably crucify me for saying it. But when she left the AMU, I was very interested in finding out, because Julie and I were friends for a long time, even during that time. And I was like, well, whatever happened to Julie? Why is she not shooting? And I found out she was working in Alabama. I think she was at a church working as an administrative position in a church or something like that. So I called her and said, hey, would you like to shoot on Team Shooters Paradise? And she said yes. So she shot for me for a year. She shot for the team for a year. So she was our big primetime player. Ron introduced me to Mike Seeklander, who your folks may have heard of. And so I brought in Mike and BJ Norris, who became a very big deal. And of course, throughout the term, we had Eric Lund, and it was just a great team. Megan Francisco, national champion. It was so much fun. We had a great time with it. And then when I sold in 2005, it was just it was a sad time, but a good time. Of course, then I lost all the money that I'd gained on the sale, but that's a whole way different story and sad story. But it was. People say that money can't buy you happiness. Well, you know what? They don't know what they're talking about. It's the whole thing about, oh, at least you're having fun on the range. No, if you're not shooting well, it shouldn't be fun. And if you have money, you're happier. Just the way it is. I'm sorry. I had money. It was great. It was great. I was retired at 34 years old. It was incredible, Rich. I suggest if you have the ability to get a lot of money, don't listen to what everyone says. Just take it. Someone offers you $10 million, they'll say, oh, it's so much money, too many problems. No, that's not true. I can tell you it's a lot nicer having money than selling guns to pay your electric bill, because I was in that position for a while, and it was ugly. It was ugly. But look at me now. I mean,
living the dream.
Oh, well, I'm not going to retire until I'm 80. Oh, I'm so screwed. But anyway, that's kind of the Shooter's Paradise story. It's a long one, but it was awesome, man. It was a great time. I met a lot of cool people. They still, believe it or not, they still have Shooter's Paradise reunion parties for my group that used to work for me. And, believe it or not, half of my employees were volunteers. I didn't pay half of my staff. They just showed up to work because they loved it. They enjoyed the industry. They enjoyed working the store. I gave them I'd tell them, you can get a couple. If someone comes in with a gun, unless it's crazy, like if it's like a really good deal and we can make money on it, use your best judgment. But if someone comes in with a consignment, I'll let you buy it from them. You can get certain guns in the store. So I was basically paying them in guns, and it was great. And they were good. These are like Capitol police officers working for me. It was pretty cool. I had a good staff. I miss it. I miss the situation. I don't miss the 19-hour work days every single day. But I do, because it was also Saturday, and they were open on Saturday. So I didn't get a Saturday. I had to go back to work, work the store on Saturday. We're also open on Sunday from 12 to 6 or 12 to 7. So it was just no break. But in the end, it was worth it. We had a good time.
Well, I remember probably 2003, 2004 at a couple of different area matches, with maybe that's when I first met you. I'm not sure, but I remember seeing BJ as a little kid. It was just this phenomenal little skinny kid with a gun. I just like, my God, that kid is going places, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
we knew that BJ was special. Actually, believe it or not, I'm looking for a picture of the old team. I can't find it, but believe it or not, when I met BJ, I was actually training his brother. His brother Kyle was a really good shooter, really fast. And he had a lot of potential, but he was growing up. He was getting ready to go to school and had a job. BJ was this tiny little undergrown 11-year-old. He was tiny for 11. He was like smaller than my kid.
Yeah.
But he was practicing next to his brother all the time. And man, he was fast. I could see this kid's going to be really good one day. So it was obviously a no-brainer when he started becoming of age and getting out to the matches. I picked him up as soon as he started coming out the range. It was a no-brainer. I knew he'd be great, and he was, and he still is. He's in the Border Patrol now, so obviously his shooting has been curtailed. But I have no doubt that once he starts getting a regular schedule and something he's happy with, if he still likes it, he's going to come out and he's going to wreck everyone's life again, especially in Steel Challenge. Kid's unstoppable with iron sight guns. It's crazy.
Yeah, watch him shoot Smoke and Hope, and it's like a magic trick. Or shooting the 5x5. I think he had the record there for the Bill Wilson's 5x5 for a long time.
So yeah, he did. Mike remembers this match very well. 2009 World Speed Shooting Championship. I was out of it in limited division. I'm not an open shooter. I'm an iron sight guy. I was out of it. We're eating lunch. I'm all depressed, and Robbie and Mike are all they're all in the hunt. They're doing good. Yeah. We're awesome, and they were. And JJ was shooting limited back then, and I was just sitting there sulking because I shot like a moron a whole day. So I was not having fun, ladies and gentlemen. I wasn't having a good day. It wasn't fun. But after lunch, I don't know what I ate, but our first stage after lunch was 5 to go, which is like 5 plates at 12, 14, 16, 18 yards, and then a stop plate over here to the right. And I shot that thing in 25 shots, and it just kept getting faster and faster and faster. And I ended up winning back in those days. If you won the stage, you won like $700, I think, or $800 for a stage win. I won the stage outright with a limited gun. I shot it like 10-20 was the total time, which was unheard of in all standards. Like, I think the world record was 10-1 with an open gun. And, and that stood for a long time. And then I did it again on Outer Limits. I did another one like a 10-7, which stood for a long time. And when BJ started shooting, it was just like that mid-10s were just the thing. If you don't shoot it under 11, you're nothing. So it's just watching him break 80 with a limited gun in Florida was pretty incredible. That guy's the kid's crazy. He's awesome. See, Barry Creasy's on. Barry Creasy was a friend of mine in Danville PD. He's a good dude. That's funny.
Yeah, and Barry's just so people that'll watch this later won't see the comments. Barry says, "Good morning, guys. Thanks, Phil, for all you have done for the shooting sports." I agree with that.
Yeah.
Mike Siegler says, "Morning, folks. Please like and share." Got 25 folks joining us live. Mike Seeklander says, "Nice to see everyone on Welcome to Coffee with the Rich. Gotta go. Time to train. Please hate on Phil as much as possible during the live stream."
It's not very nice.
Not very nice. Who would say that?
The thing is, he'll deny it. I'll say, "Hey, man, what was all those ugly comments you were putting out there earlier?" And he was like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" I don't like that guy. Let me tell you something about Mike Seeklander. You can't trust anyone who buys a shirt of one size and has sleeves specially made a smaller size to make his arms look bigger. That, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, that's a crazy person. That's such crazy people do. So you can't trust someone who does that. I'm telling you.
Who would do that?
Who does that? Look at it. This is what the normal sleeve looks like. And I'm a big dude. I'm a big guy. Rich, I don't mess around. But come on, man. XL shirt and extra medium sleeves. Mike, come on. You're better than that.
Yeah, he is better than that. Hey, man, I wanted to talk because you're one of those unique guys. You, Mike Seeklander, Ernest Langdon. There's a few in the industry that are highly top level competitive shooters that also have a law enforcement background. And one of the things that I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, Phil, is the dichotomy between competitive shooting sports and defensive pistol shooting, whatever label we want to put on that. What do most shooters misunderstand when it comes to those two things?
There's always a disconnect there. It's the reason it's hard to get, and I'm going to try to answer your question without getting off on too many tangents, but it does bring up a lot of subjects. And one of them is there's a lot of discontent from police officers with regards to competition. And they've said it 1,000 times. That kind of training, that kind of shooting will get you killed in the streets. We've heard that a gazillion times. And I think what a lot of people in law enforcement didn't understand, and I will say didn't, because there are a lot of really good competitive shooters now who are police officers. I just met, I was talking about limited, I'm going to tangent here. talking about the limited nationals, meeting some cool people. I met Cody Axon, I think his name is. Great shooter. Guy finished in like sixth place overall. And there was another guy who was an FBI agent. He finished right behind me, or maybe in front of me. I can't remember. So now you're seeing police officers in the top 10 a lot. So I think maybe they didn't realize that competitive shooting is it's more of a refinement of gun handling skills than it is tactics, right? And it's no different for IDPA either. Don't think that I shoot IDPA, and I'm not going to hate on it, but a lot of people in IDPA, they think they're bridging that gap, and they're just way not. The way I've explained it to people is, if you have to, when you're done shooting, if you have to go downrange to score targets, then it's a sport. It's not training. If you want to train, then, obviously make sure your guns are blue. Make sure you can shoot each other with them, i.e., simunitions or UTM, and then get some good classroom / scenario training, and then put those guns on and see if you're able to retain the information you learned. If you want to do that, that's good training. Now, I will say this. I always did very well on force-on-force scenarios, not because I'm a tactician, that's not what I'm saying, but I was never, ever thinking about the gun handling part of it, or whether or not I'm going to hit the target. Hitting the target, drawing the gun, getting the gun in action, which we've heard so many times, getting the first shot on target is very important. Getting the gun into action, making it work for me, was never up here. It was literally subconscious. It was just happening. I had to draw my gun on several people several times as a police officer, and I do not remember drawing the gun. All I remember is I blinked and the gun was in my hand pointing at somebody. And even then, I would kind of replay the scenario back in my head, and I remember, oh yeah, my sights were lined up and on that guy's center mass. I was thinking about that. So afterwards, obviously, under stress, you're not thinking about much, but it was instinctual. So the competitive side of it, I always tell police officers, law enforcement, anyone that's carrying a gun as an occupation, competitive shooting, you're right, it's not going to teach you tactics, but it's going to teach you things that will help you focus more on the tactical side of it, because you'll never be thinking about the shooting. And so when we start telling people to shoot from here, this will become a lot more natural to do as a person who handles guns a lot than it would be for someone who doesn't handle them enough, and focuses only on the square range police training mentality. It's so I think there's a bridge there. I don't know if that answers your question correctly or not, but there's definitely a relationship, a very positive and meaningful relationship between competitive shooting and being able to be a more proficient gun handler in law enforcement. Obviously, you still have to use cover and concealment and all the things that we've learned and in the training aspect of it. But I can tell you that training is going to be a lot easier to pick up if you're not thinking about the gun handling part so much, and clearing malfunctions and all the things that come with the skills of a gun handler,
Yeah. No, it's perfect, man. I think that's
people like the tiny sleeve comments.
Yeah. Steve says, don't tiny sleeves make you shoot better? Evidently they do.
Maybe I need to work on that. Maybe I just go to the gym. Maybe I should work out, Rich. What do you think? I mean, we're old.
Whatever you're doing is working, brother. Don't change it.
That's why I'm only shooting from here up. So my face is fat. I'm just nasty looking, Rich. I don't like it. But I'm too lazy to do anything. But it's like, I want to shoot better, but God, I'd really like to watch that movie and eat some chocolate. So I'm going to do that instead. It's pretty lazy. And I'm spoiled. I am spoiled. But anyway, sorry. I know this has got to be the most painful interview for you ever.
No, I've had others.
I cannot keep this freaking dog in the track, man. He's all over the place. Seeing squirrels.
I find that
I'm just shocked that no one's walked through that door yet. I cannot believe my kids and my wife and my dogs haven't literally been jumping through this door and running in.
All the top shooters I've been around, man, they're all like little chipmunks on crack. Trying to keep them focused is incredibly hard. Yeah.
They're all over the place.
Except maybe Mike. He's a robot, though.
Mike. Stupid Mike.
Hey, Phil, one of the things I think when you were on our podcast a couple of years ago, you mentioned that to train the draw, you set up a mirror and then use tape to line up can you talk about that? Because I found that fascinating. I'd never heard anybody say that before.
Yeah. So when I was practicing back in the day, yeah, we didn't have a lot of the technology that kids have these days, or people have these days, to film themselves. Obviously, we had cameras, and you had to set them up and tripod them. It was a pain in the butt. So the easiest way for me to get feedback on my mechanics, I just want to use draw because I did it for the reloads as well, was to use a mirror. And for the longest time, I taught well, I'm not teaching it; it's a fact. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So my goal was to make my draw as straight from starting point to the ending point as I possibly could. And one way to do that was to turn to the side, and face a mirror. And, you usually need help to do this, but you turn to the side, and I would actually I'd bring my gun out of the holster, and I would kind of get it just right before it broke the holster. And I would have usually my wife take a piece of tape and put it on the mirror where I was standing. You got to mark where you're standing on your feet too, because if you stand in the wrong spot, it makes it a little bit more difficult. So, but you put a little piece of tape on the mirror, and then you extend the gun out. So I'm looking at the mirror and extending my gun out in front of me. And then you put a little piece of tape from your perspective on the mirror. And then you get a long straight piece of tape and you throw it between the 2 points. And that way you've got a nice straight line between here and here. And honestly, you're just slow drawing and you're watching yourself, kind of slow draw and track the tape to kind of make it more refined, make your draw more refined. And you can do the same thing on your reloads. You can switch the other way, turn the other side, and mark where your mag pouch is on your belt and where your gun is at full extension. And then do another one to put a tape between those 2 points. And then you put an X kind of in the middle because I always want to meet my reload in the middle there. Some people keep it further out. It doesn't matter as long as you're keeping it in a straight line movement. I would just track my reloads on that tape. So I would always watch the mirror on my reloads. I never look at the mag well, which probably helps, I guess. But I would always just watch myself in the mirror and try to track on those lines. And then I'd face the mirror and I'd make sure that my gun wasn't coming out here. I'd always keep the gun center line on the way out. So the mirror is a great tool. You can use a video camera, but you can't make instantaneous adjustments to your training regimen. If you see yourself doing it wrong, you're usually seeing it after, in the replay. So a big mirror is an awesome tool to have for training. At least until you get to a point where you can feel that you're doing it wrong. Like my first draw in 3 months, which just happened at Florida Open, by the way, Jesus. But my first draw felt bad. I felt like the gun was up here and it just didn't feel right. So I had to refine it and fix it by going slow and then speeding it up. And then eventually it got not good enough to win, but it was better than it was when I started. But yeah, the mirror is a great tool to use. I suggest everyone use it. It looks kind of weird when you got tape, and make sure it's like masking tape. Don't do anything dumb with people say, I just used a Sharpie. Well, yeah, now you got Sharpie marks on your mirror, but use common sense. But the mirror is a great tool to use. I strongly suggest it. Obviously, videotape is okay. Everyone's videotaping themselves shooting these days. I don't know if it's for their training or for Instagram or Facebook. I don't know, man. That's going to be another part of this conversation. I got a feeling it's going to derail when we start talking about where the world's headed. But be that as it may, if you're going to videotape yourself, that's great. But know what you're looking for when you review your video, right? You gotta know what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and you gotta also know. You can hat cam it all day long, but you're not going to pick up a lot of information from that at all. And if you know what to look for, it does help. When my wife videotapes me at nationals, when she shows up, she always tapes my stages, and I can always see the mistakes I'm making there. But then again, of course, as we all know, that's practice for my next nationals. If I were to practice, I would probably have her videotape me because I would know what to look for and see what I'm doing right and wrong. But you can usually feel it when you get to a certain level. You can feel yourself come around a wall and you're like, wow, it took a while for my gun to get there. You can fix it from there. But, and I'm not beating up on people who videotape. It does sound that way. But if you are doing it, do it for a reason. Don't just do it to do it. It is cool to look. You want to look at yourself when you shoot. I get it. You want to look at your results. I get it. But, have a goal, right? Just don't do it to do it.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and shift gears here. As as a former Capitol policeman, spent a lot of years there. When you saw what happened January the 6th, Phil, what were your thoughts on that, man?
Well, first I was concerned about my friends, so I was texting a lot of my friends that still work there and make sure they were okay. And it didn't really hit until I was starting to get pictures of pipe bombs and crazy stuff that was happening there. I don't want this to deteriorate into a rant or anything. I felt bad for a lot of people. I feel bad for the people that were there to try to really make a change and to do what they should have done. I feel bad, and I feel bad for that for every protesting group, because it's not just the pro-Trumpers, it's the BLMers, it's everyone that's a protester, believe it or not. And I can't talk a lot about this. There's a lot of sensitive information that I still can't really talk about from my days at Capitol, because we used to deal with protests and riots and that kind of thing. But it's very rare that people within those groups are the people who are causing the issues. They are paid agitators in these groups. And I can't tell you how I know it, but we know that there are people that are paid to go into the groups, dress like the protesters, and agitate things to ramp things up. And then they use the mob mentality to hope that enough people will follow them. And usually they do, but not in a violent way. They just say, well, those people are going closer to the Capitol, let's all go closer to the Capitol. Oh, those people are going up the stairs, let's all go up the stairs. There's professionals. These people do it for a living. They get paid a lot of money to be the agitators within these peaceful protests to turn them not peaceful. And there is still an agenda. There's an end game to this. If you want to go into that, we certainly can. I know there's another question on your list that will probably dive us a little deeper into why this happens. But I felt bad for them, man. I mean, they weren't very prepared. I don't think they were prepared for the aftermath of what was happening. They were clearly, I don't know. I just don't know enough about the situation. I know that a lot of high-ranking officials resigned shortly after that. There's typically a reason for that. There's not. It's not like they say, "Well, we did everything right. We're going to defend ourselves by resigning today." That doesn't work that way. But it is the Hill. It is. The chief of police is a political position, just like the sergeant at arms. They are political positions. But I was I was saddened by the whole thing. It was an opportunity for the country to make a statement, to show the support in a unified way, in a nonviolent unified way, and it just deteriorated. And that's probably how it happens with a lot of these situations where violence erupts and that kind of thing. It's just a sad thing. The problem is it's, the message you get from whichever side of the podium is rioting and violent and being violent, it's just a different swing on how it's portrayed in the media, And then, of course, we're talking to your crowd here. People watching the show are probably, I would say, right-leaning. So it's obviously you're preaching to the choir here. But I think that the events of that day, although it was there was a lot of things you could pull away from it that could have been done better. I think it's being portrayed in a way to make things look really, really bad. Obviously, officers were killed and people lost their lives. It's bad enough as it is, but I still think there's a skew to that story that a lot of people are hearing because that's how it's being portrayed. But there's a lot of things people don't know that would happen. That's all I can really say. Yeah. But I know a lot of stuff that happened that a lot of people don't know about. That it's and you'll never know. Because people can't handle that. People don't want it, and most people on the other side of the fence don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. When you start arguing truth and logic and facts, it's usually when the other side shuts down, it seems, but it's a shame. But I talked to a lot of my friends, and they were all fine, so I was happy to hear that.
Well, thank God. Were some of them on duty that day?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, one of them was one of my best friends. He was on a detail out of state, so he was pretty bummed out that he couldn't be there to help. But yeah, it was a rough day. It was a bad day for the Capitol Police. It was a bad day for America. It was just it was a bad day it was a bad day for, you know, the conservative movement as well. It set us back. And, you know, like I said, it's a shame. And it's not unique to the conservative movement. It happens all the movements. It's just sometimes it's easier to get the mob mentality to carry on with your agitators in some respects, which is why you have multiple cities burning instead of just DC.
Well, and I want to finish up with a question with regard to, you know, what's going on at SIG. What are you guys working on? Talk about the 365 or the 320 and stuff. But now that we're on this train, we might as well keep riding this train for a minute, man. You know, you've lived and worked in Virginia, Phil. What in the heck is going on with the Second Amendment there, man?
Gosh. Is it just Virginia though?
No,
I mean, it's a trend. It's just a trend. You know, Fairfax, Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Alexandria. The bigger the cities get, the bigger any city gets in the side of a state, you're gonna have the same problems. You know, people will leave a state that's not great, move to a different state. I mean, God, look at Texas. I mean, Texas is going down the toilet in at least Austin, and some of the bigger cities. You know, people are leaving, and they may be leaving for different reasons. They may be leaving because it's not great. They may be leaving, you know, because we're gonna spread this woke message to every state in the union, and but they go to a state and they try to turn it into the place they came from, and it's clearly not working. You know. And Virginia is no exception, and I feel bad for it because most of my family lives in Virginia, and some of them live in North Carolina, which is going down the same road. You know, because Raleigh's not getting any smaller.
Yeah,
the Raleigh-Durham Triangle area is not getting any smaller. So, it's sad to see. It's just another state lost, and it's just another trend towards making our country more about, you know, less about freedom and more about just more of an agenda that I'm not on par with, which is big government and more control. And that's the thing, you know, it's just, I mean, obviously I will say that, and it sounds horribly selfish, but, you know, big government and Democrats and all that, they're good for my business, you know?
Yeah.
But as a country, at what point does it stop? You know, everyone talks about the slippery slope. I already think we're sliding down it. You know, we're already in a position to where it's not just guns either; it's everything. And I don't want to get too much into a political rant, but I never thought I would see. And this is kind of when I think when everything started going downhill is when a hunter and an outlaw lost their guns, and I'm talking about Elmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam. When they lost their guns, that was the start of this whole downward trend of how much can we get away with, right? It's always a test of what can we do? What can we take today that people will not get completely outraged for? And they tried with the guns before. They tried it and they pushed hard with it. And this was, back in the days when I had a lot more confidence in a vote we were casting, but they tried way back when, to try to take guns away and try to really push the Second Amendment or push fighting against the Second Amendment, and it bit them. Republicans took over, and I think they learned some lessons. They learned that the only way we can do this is to swing the votes in our favor somehow. So I'm not saying that happened, but man, there's a lot of weird coincidences that happened at the last election. But be that as it may, I think everything's kind of a test to see what we can get away with. What can we take from them that they'll fight a little bit, but eventually they'll give us? I use the mask mandate as another example. Now, I'm not saying masks are bad. I'm not saying they don't help or do help, but I'm saying that when the government imposes a mandate of some sort, it's a test to see what they can get away with. It's a bigger picture. The Democrats are smart, man. They are one of the smartest parties. People don't like giving a lot of credit. Now, obviously, they judge it by the fact that they have a man with dementia in the Oval Office. but they are a smart party. They think long game stuff. They're thinking 30 years down the road, and they've been playing this game for 20 years ago. Since 20 years ago, they've been. Look how commercials have changed. Look how television has changed. Look how every single aspect of media, be it Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, everything, the news. Look how polarizing and how much that message has changed from 20 years ago to now. And you can see a progression in it. You can see in the commercials they play. You can see the person that they're appealing to. And here's the fact. You can only withstand that kind of constant bombardment of woke messages before it has an impact, especially on young people. People like us, we can see through it, but there's only a matter of time before our young people who are bombarded by these messages, these new, what do they call them? The word they use a lot is empowerment messages or diversity messages. We're getting it shoved into our face so much that eventually these young minds are just going to accept the fact that this is just the way it is. Masks, it's just the way it is. It's just people have learned to accept it because they know, the government now knows that they can kind of get away with it. And everything, like I said, everything is a test, a government test to see what can we do next? What can we take next? And it's a blueprint that's been followed for hundreds of years. I mean, if we don't learn from our own history. That's why I think we're in big trouble, because we're not looking at the past and saying, oh, wow, this has happened before and it didn't go too well. But it's literally arguing, like I've said before, arguing logic and reason and facts to a lot of people that don't see eye to eye. It's very difficult, and it's almost basically impossible. And I have people in my family who are, they are blindly liberal, and they really don't know why. So because there's so much misinformation out there, and there's so many messages out there that people have relied on. What would happen if Facebook and Instagram just shut down tomorrow? People, that's what people are using to get their information, their news, and it's forming, it's literally geoforming our people's minds. And I just feel like I think we're losing. I think it's a losing battle from a God first, country first, military first, law enforcement first, Constitution first mentality. I think we're losing ground, and it scares the hell out of me. And it should scare everybody. But and I think this whole COVID thing is not COVID the disease, but like COVID relief bill. I think that's another experiment to see how much we can get away with. As long as we send you a check, what can we get away with? Because I know a lot of people are like, oh yeah, whatever, as long as my check gets here. And they're like right wingers. They just want their money. So I think it's another experiment. If we keep paying people off and just keep going further and further into debt until we're, we can't do anything, we can't function as a nation, people won't care. They'll be happy, And it's infuriating, and it makes me want to run for office again. Not USPSA President, but something where I could do something different. But it is frustrating, and I know a lot of our people or your listeners get pretty frustrated with it too. But anyway, sorry. Felt good though to get that off my chest.
Well, it is frustrating, and for those that maybe haven't traveled the world a little bit and seen what's going on other places, they get a skewed view. Man, I was in the UK right before this COVID kicked off, and they have their laws. You can't carry a gun, obviously. You can't carry a knife unless it's under 2 inches, and it can't be a lock blade, and it can't be a fixed blade, and you have to have a reason for carrying it if you're stopped. If you carry a roll of quarters in your pocket, like, what are you carrying that in your pocket for? What I'm getting at is they don't stop at the semi-automatic, scary assault type looking weapons. When they start this march, like you said, Phil, it's a long generational game they're playing, and they will eventually, like the UK, take everything. You can't even walk down the street if you're a woman in London. You're in a woman in East End London, very violent part of town. You cannot carry a can of pepper spray. If you get caught with that can of pepper spray, you're going to prison in the UK for 10 years, mandatory. Yeah. So there's a sign when you get off the plane or anything. It's like, you cannot have any of these weapons. If you do, go to customs and turn them in, because these are listed by law as offensive weapons and everything's on that list. And I looked at it and I go, okay, cool, man. I got shoelaces if I need to strangle somebody.
Right.
But my point is this, though. Obviously, they view these weapons as only being offensive. They're in their legal system. There is no way that these weapons can be used for personal defense. They can only be used offensively, which is just crazy. It's illogical.
It's another proof. It's another form of proof that anyone who fights for the control of any kind of defensive ability, firearms, anything, knives, whatever. It's not about crime control. It's not a crime bill. It's not a crime prevention policy. It is a policy, like I said before, of control. What can we get away with so we can control our people better, so we don't have to worry about an uprising. We don't have to worry about, we can literally do whatever we want, because what are they going to do, right? And they're kind of in that position now. I mean, let's face it, you can have as many ARs as you want, but if the government, that's the real scary part, is at what point does the military jump on board with a lot of this woke ability, and they start kicking doors in to start taking stuff? And that's the real scary part of it. But the gun control advocates do not care about crime. They don't give a crap about it. I was a police officer in Virginia. Short story. I know we're running over. There was a new law called Project Exile that came into effect. And I probably talked about this before. I don't know with you or not, but it was basically a very simple law. If you were caught with a firearm, either committing a crime or just illegally possessing it, you got 5 years in jail in a penitentiary. Nothing you could do about it. There was no appeal process. There was no suspended time. There was nothing. And we had a liberal judge, and he hated it when we got a gun on a guy who was either dealing dope or assaulting someone or whatever, robbery, using a gun. Oh my gosh! So they get all these felony charges, and they'd be they give them time, and they suspend every bit of it except for like a couple of days. And then the Commonwealth would have to say, Judge, what about the Project Exile? And you could see they would just hate it, because they're liberals and they don't want to do what they're supposed to do. And the Republicans voted this in. This was a crime bill. This was it was a gun law to a degree, because it was an illegal ownership, legal possession of gun, that required you to go to jail for a certain time. So you could call that a gun law, right? But it was a crime control law based on the illegal use of guns. So if the left really cared about crime, then they should just make the crime of using a firearm in any kind of activity, robbery or theft or whatever, make the punishment so ridiculous and so absolutely, what's the word I'm looking for? Unappealable, that people are too scared to carry guns, because again, I carry a gun, I'm gonna get 5 years no matter what. I mean, because these guys, they revolve through the system. I mean, you should have seen some of the rap sheets I locked up in when I was a cop. It was ridiculous, but they would just spend their time and run them through. Whatever time he served, that's good enough. We'll suspend the rest of the time. But they couldn't do that. And then when the Democrats took over in Virginia, they killed Project Exile, because it was too effective, I guess. I don't know. It was just crazy. Maybe we were locking up too many of their constituents. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is if you're listening, which there's no one on your podcast that's a lefty, I'm guessing, but if anyone happens to come across this, your Congress people, your left pro gun control advocates, they do not care about crime. They don't care enough about it to make real, true crime control laws, not gun control laws, but crime control laws. And it'll never happen, because obviously everyone listening to your podcast, they already know. I mean, I'm not saying anything new, but they know it's not a matter of the crime. It's just a matter of get the guns out of these people's hands. So give us a higher element of control over the people. Obviously we know that, but it's just, I'm just preaching to the choir at this point, but it's just the way it is, and it sucks. And so that's why I tell everyone, get trained, buy a firearm, train yourself. That's the most important thing, obviously. And I do have some liberal views as far as gun ownership. I believe that if someone purchases a firearm, to get a concealed carry permit, they have to, pass some sort of, training. I know that Virginia had that requirement, but it was literally anything. It was, as long as it was an NRA certified instructor teaching, you could teach machine gunning 101 and it would be enough to get your concealed carry permit. But I think like a standardized course that teaches people the elements of carry better should be required, because it's more, what scares me more is someone carrying a gun who's not prepared to use it, because it's just going to get taken from them, or they're going to shoot someone innocently, or it scares the hell out of me. I look at myself as a pretty well trained carrier of a firearm, and it still scares the hell out of me to even think about getting involved in an armed altercation. And I feel like I'm relatively well trained, and I don't want to do it, but it scares me that there's some people out there, and you see the videos all the time. I was been watching this guy that you guys met, and I think you met him in Phoenix. He has the use of force,
active self-protection, John Korea.
Yes, yeah. So watching some of those, you see some of those videos, and you just watch how the training deteriorates so quickly. So yes, if you're going to buy a gun and you're going to carry it, please, you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your family, you owe it to the world that you're carrying in, to get some training. So that is my view on it. I think anyone should be able to buy them, but holy moly, carry it. Sometimes how many times we watched I watch all these YouTube or these Instagram pages where they see people, they're usually carrying in a Walmart or Sam's Club, oddly enough, or Waffle House, and you see these horrendous carry rigs set up. It's just terrifying. But anyway, there I go again.
It is terrifying.
It is. It's crazy.
Hey, man, I was going to say, we're 2 months into the Biden-Harris administration, and I would imagine that in 2020, Sig Sauer probably set all kinds of records for firearm sales.
Yes.
And I'm sure they're off to a strong start this year. Where are we going under this new administration, Phil?
Oh, gosh. I don't know, man. I from a gun owner's perspective, sometimes I think Democrats in office are good from an activist standpoint, because it wakes up a lot of activists. The problem is it's such an uphill battle and there's so many hidden laws being thrown into these bills that you really have to pay more people and work and get more people into these lobbyist groups to be able to catch this stuff. The problem is we used to have kind of a backup plan. We used to have at least one part of the legislative and executive branches were on the Republican side. We had some kind of help there, so that when we catch these things, we can kind of put a break on them. Now we're stuck with the filibusters and hoping the Supreme Court will vote against it at some point if it gets that far. It's just like we're hanging on by thread. So I think it's a good thing in that it will make people more active, more aware of their attack on their rights, not just gun rights, but everything. It starts with the Second Amendment, but it leads to everything else. I mean, the First Amendment's already been affected. You got major corporations out there telling you to be less white, telling their employees, be less white. Who would have ever thought that we would see that kind of systemic racism in a major corporation? And it's racism. It doesn't have to be a white person hating on a black person. It's racism. Racism is defined as, discriminating against a specific race of people. Yet we're seeing it publicly, and it's another one of those tests. What can we get away with, right? And people are just saying, "Oh, that's crazy. That's ridiculous." And where's the outrage? There's people online posting these quirky memes and that kind of thing, but it's just the double standard is going away. But it starts with the Second Amendment, and I think until we get enough people to what do, we have a lot of people. We have a lot of people that are active. The biggest thing that scares me about all this, about not just the administration or how the country's going, it's the fact that our way out of it for the last 100 years, 150 years has been, if you don't like something, go out and vote, right? That's the greatest power the American person has, is to vote. You see where I'm going with this, Rich? I think you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I have no confidence in that system. And that's how countries fall, right? That's how people start really starting to reinforce their fears of, oh my gosh, that guy has how many ARs? Well, if there's no faith in the system of government that we have hung our hat on since the Declaration of Independence, then it makes me more scared of what's going to happen, not just for gun rights, but for everything. Because how am I supposed to know that my vote now counts if there's this much conjecture and doubt and suspicious activity around our most cherished foundation of America? Then what good does it do me? I mean, what I don't like this, but it's hard enough to get people to go out and vote already, right? I mean, it's hard enough to get people out of their house and go vote when people thought it counted. Now, if there's any doubt that your vote doesn't count the way it used to, how are you going to get those people out of their houses? How are you going, especially the people who are outraged? And so far, right now, it's us. It's Second Amendment, freedom-loving, small government, gun owners, and now, if this reverse racism keeps going on, it's white people. I don't want to downplay the racism that's happening in the country, and I am definitely not that person. And I have many people who will tell you that, but I loathe it as much from one side as I do on the other, right?
Yeah.
And so do my friends. My friends, my black friends, who I hardly see anymore because I'm in the whitest state in the world, in New Hampshire, but they are the same way. They may be left leaning, and they may hate Trump, and Trump's an easy person to hate. I'll tell you, he is annoying, and I get it. But they're not racist, and they hate reverse racism as much as they obviously hate the other side. But I kind of got off on a tangent there. But if you're like I was saying, I think that having Biden and Harris in there scares a lot of people. I think it's going to possibly make people more active in defending their rights and getting more involved in the defense of their rights. But the greatest defense we have is now tainted. It's voting. It's getting the people into the seats that you want to get into the seats. And when you start casting doubt on that very important system of our government, holy moly, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm more worried about that than I am Biden. I mean, the guy has no idea what's going on. They're going to prop him up for what? How many more months has he got left? 18 more months, 20 more months. And I think if Harris takes over with less than 2 years left in the term, she can run 2 more terms. I think they're going to prop him up so they can keep her in there for more than 8 years. So that doesn't scare me nearly as much as the whole the foundational system of our government, voting. That's what scares me. It really does. And because it doesn't start at the top. Politics don't start at the top, although they do these days. They start at the bottom. They start at the grassroots level, and you work your way up. That's how it should work. Yeah. But obviously now, because of the media and the way the media is being portrayed and the way the left is utilizing this media, it's not that way anymore. It seems it's very frustrating. And I have a view that's shared by a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of stuff. I mean, dude, I worked for Congress for 10 years, and it wasn't always on the range. So I saw a lot of things, and I heard a lot of things, and a lot of people want to know what goes on behind the closed doors. Most of America's not ready to hear it, and they don't want to know. And the thing is, nowadays you're scared to death to tell anybody because, you got people hanging themselves in prison, or people who know too much are now just falling off the radar. It's terrifying.
Getting suicided.
Yeah, it's terrifying. So I have a viewpoint, and it's no different than a lot of the people watching right now, and a lot of people are going to be watching this because that's their mindset. You're not going to get a lot of woke left wing liberal minded people watching this, and if you do, I hope they do, and I hope they're smart enough to listen to it. But most people aren't.
Yeah, one of our viewers says, so when voting doesn't work, what's next? Yeah, that's what scares me. What's next? Right.
I don't know. I don't know. It's you really, as a God-fearing person, you want to have faith that our country exists because of our belief system. That, I mean, it was founded on, one nation under God. You want to have faith that the system will correct itself. Unfortunately, sometimes that correction requires a lot of uncomfortableness. So it's really scary. I don't know what's next. The problem is there's a lot of patriots out there. And there's a lot of people who like to think about the things that need to happen, but when those things start really coming down to it, like you got to get your hands dirty, a lot of people are going to shy away from it. It's just the way it is. People have families and jobs, and they're relying upon things, and they don't want to take that risk that the founding fathers had to take. It's just a hard thing. I mean, you've been in situations where you've had to do those kind of things and put yourselves in situations where you didn't want to be there. Let's face it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people aren't really ready for that. And so I don't know. I don't know what's next. I don't know what's going to happen. I hope that the system will somewhat correct itself. Maybe they'll start to see the deterioration of Americans' confidence in the system. I don't know. You just got to pray for the country, pray for Biden, and pray for the leadership. Everyone says he's not my president. Well, he's not. He is the president. He may not be your president. He's the president of the country that you claim you're a resident of. So you have to hope that he'll have a moment of clarity, or I don't know. It's just, it's a lot of faith-based stuff, and it's all kind of cheesy, but that's kind of how I feel about it. I don't want to be in a situation where something next has to happen, but I am 100% prepared to do it to protect my way of life, my family, and my country. I mean, I think there's a lot of people out there like that. I just hope it never comes to that.
There's a couple of things I want to comment on that. I've had a UK attorney who's also a South African attorney. I had him on here several months back. He's also a competitive shooter. And, he speaks to what you're talking about, Phil, because apartheid dies in 1994. You get this new liberal government comes in, Nelson Mandela, the African National Congress, the ANC, and they start defunding the police because the police was seen, whether rightly or wrongly, as this instrument of state violence. So got to defund the police. And then we have to get rid of firearms because they're scary and all this other stuff. So what you end up with is the South African people don't have enough law enforcement officers to take care of them. Whereas if you're a rich guy living in a gated community, you've got a big, giant armored personnel carrier running around your neighborhood with a bunch of well-armed Afrikaners in it. And then you can apply, if you do everything right, if you fill out a stack of papers that thick, the government will probably grant you the right to have a firearm. Okay. And he's like, Rich, I'm a corporate attorney. I can do legal filings all day long. It doesn't bother me. But for the average South African that lives in shantytown, there's absolutely zero chance that they have access to a laptop and a printer and all the things necessary to fill out all these legal requirements. So it goes to your point, Phil, that only people get disenfranchised by these liberal policies that are supposed to help the average person. They really disenfranchise them. And one final thing on that. When I asked him about in the UK, they're like, okay, women can't carry pepper spray because you might hurt the bad guy when you spray them. So what if we create this thing called Faber marking dye? So it's a little canister, looks like pepper spray, but when you spray, it's just a water-based dye that would identify the attacker to the police. And that was ruled that, no, you cannot carry that legally either. So again, once that slow roll starts, it may start with a scary AR-15 that nobody should have or whatever they say. It's a weapon of war. But where does it go? And I think people are not looking at the long game of this. It's a complete, they may not take it away in one administration. They may not take it away in three administrations. But when our grandkids look back to the freedoms that we have now, they'll be like, wow, they could do that back then.
Yeah, you're right. And that, I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is the left is it's like a lava flow. It takes a long time to get where it's going, but it's pretty relentless and it's hard to stop. And they are a long game party. They're smart. They've been doing it for years and years and years, and we've been on the defense for so long. That sometimes maybe it's going to take a changing of the guard or a hard reset, as I like to say sometimes. I hope it doesn't come to that, but I don't know. I don't know what the future holds. I think it scares a lot of people, but I think it's keeping a lot of people on their toes. Obviously, you don't want to be so complacent that you kind of glaze over the important stuff. And sometimes a Republican run country can do that. And I think obviously the rest of the world notices too. I mean, the rest of the world sees this as an opportunity to strike when we are at our weakest, right? We're divided, we're fighting amongst ourselves. It is a golden opportunity. And so we need to think about the big picture, not just so much about ourselves and our what we want from our government, but we really need to think about a unified front of, okay, we're not going to agree on these things, but let's focus on making the country more solidified. I don't want to say better because that's a long road, but don't think these big countries aren't noticing that we're bickering and fighting, and we're not the same country we were, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, a Reagan era country. I mean, that was a different world back then. So I think there's a lot to learn. It's a scary thing, but have faith, keep praying.
I think a lot of, maybe people on right leaning, they think maybe in terms of the Second Amendment, but let me be clear. I love the entire Constitution, the entire Bill of Rights. And I think we've seen an erosion, whether it's the Patriot Act or whatever, that slowly takes some of our privacy and rights away that the Republicans have screwed it up too.
Yeah, it's both sides. I mean, like I said, I worked for Congress. I've seen the ugliness from both sides of the podium, and both sides of the aisle have a lot of work to do. There's corruption, and there's and I think it starts with a lot of things. I think it starts with term limits. It's a big one. There's a lot of things that need to happen within the country that, unfortunately, those decisions are made by the very people that they affect, and it's just not. They're not unselfish. It's not an unselfish job, and it has to be. It has to be. You have to be an unselfish person to do that job because you're a servant. You're serving the people, and I think most long-term congressmen forget that, and it just becomes what can I do to help myself kind of thing. It's very frustrating. It is a frustrating thing, and I know a lot of good people that were in Congress. I was friends with a couple of them, and they were just great people. And they either got voted out or they eventually left because they just couldn't deal with the bureaucracy and the self-servingness. And it's a sad thing. And it's just part of the world. I get it, but there's got to have to be a change. Got to be. But
let's circle back to Sig. Can you tease us with anything you guys are working on right now?
Oh man, I'm actually missing a meeting right now about one of those products, and my boss just called me and texted me, so I'm sure I'm going to catch hell for that. But no, that's no big deal. Obviously, we're working on a lot of cool stuff. Obviously, I can't talk a lot about what's coming out, but Sig's a big company. Right. And Sig has a lot of stuff going on, not just in commercial world, but we also have, we have an engineering pool. We have a small or relatively large engineering pool. Right. And we have a lot of projects, clearly. So everyone says, hey, how about, I'll just throw an option out. I'll throw one out. When are we going to make it 320 and 10 millimeter? Well, it's not like you can just snap your fingers and say, okay, 10 millimeter 320 coming. It's an R&D project. It's something that's going to take time and resources, which means you've got your pool here, right? And you've got to take one of these projects and you got to move it down here and put. I'm just using 10 millimeters because we get a lot of questions for that, and put that up here somewhere. So you got to rearrange this limited number of resources to get where you got to get. So when we come out with a new gun, that gun, if it requires a lot of testing and validation and that kind of thing, it takes a while because you're moving things around. And if the Army comes back or the military comes back and says, "Hey, we need this project for this machine gun," what do you think is going to get priority? We're still a defense company, so yes, there are some new products coming out. I can't talk a lot about them, but rest assured, to the people who will be listening who like SIG, we do listen. We do hear what you're saying. We do a lot of research as far as what your requests are, what the market impact would be. Obviously, everything I do has to have a business case. And of course, I'm the product manager for these pistols, and let's face it, the 320 and 365 are what keeps SIG. That's the moneymaker. But there are a lot of product managers. The CEO is a product manager. My boss is a product manager. There are engineers who think they're product managers. So obviously, there's a lot of input and a lot of give and take. It's a very fun job. It's very stressful. A lot of meetings. I've got meetings all day today. But it is good. And yes, we are coming out with some new things. Your people will start seeing them probably late summer. We're going to start bringing some out. I've already teased a couple on the virtual SHOT Show. A new Legion 320 is coming out next month. A new 365 is coming out in a few months, probably a couple months. So yeah, we're expanding the line. We're making things newer. We're actually you're going to be seeing a lot of really cool. Our Custom Works group is our SIG Custom Works is going really well with the FCUs and the AXG Scorpions, but you can expect to see a lot of really, really cool guns coming out of the Custom Works in the next few months. That's what this call is about actually right now. So, stay tuned, stay on our website, sigsauer.com. Make sure you check that out. Obviously, we have a YouTube channel. So I do a lot of product videos on that. So right when a product is released, I'll usually have a product video on it, talking about it. A lot of fun memes about those too, if you have time to look. So yeah, and probably by SHOT Show, hopefully it will happen this time around. SHOT Show, you can see a lot of new stuff. Some really cool things happening at SHOT Show. So I'm pretty excited about that. Maybe even NRA. I think NRA got pushed back, but we'll see. Like I said, it's a moving target. I might get a call tomorrow and say, "Hey, everything you're working on is being pushed down because we got, a new military contract we're working on." So,
well, I was going to say it's one thing to design a really good pistol, which obviously SIG has done for decades and decades, but it's another thing to fulfill production requirements. And as I read, you guys are doing really well with meeting the needs of the Army and the Army contract, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's the one thing that can't slip, right? That's as much as we revolve our company around commercial needs, you can't slip on those. You can't slip on any military or law enforcement contract because there's penalties involved, and those penalties become very stiff, and it can certainly affect your solicitation award, and it's just not worth it. So we put a lot of work into making sure that those requirements are fulfilled, and we do a great job on that. It's a very interesting company. It's hard to bridge that gap between a defense company and a commercial company, and SIG is definitely doing that. And it's a great company to work for. And in case my bosses watch this, I love my job and I love my bosses.
Well, that's important. I was going to talk to you about the P320, man. I love what you did there. Heavier on the front end. I believe it's a bull barrel, lighten the slide up. I love it. But here's what I see, man. And you tell me how crazy this is. I see a lot of really bad shooters that think I'll go buy the 320 and that's going to take me to the next level. And I've told those folks that have done that, I'm like, you can't buy skill. You got to put in the work to develop that skill, and then you can buy the 320 and it's going to give you that little bit of edge with performance. Am I crazy in saying that?
No, you're not. You're not at all. In fact, I am the poster child for that statement. When I was shooting competitively way back in the day in the mid late 90s, there were two divisions. There were open and limited. Very simple. Limited was iron sights. Open was anything goes kind of thing. And that was it. There was no single stack, no production, no carry optics, no revolver. Well, revolver, but that was specialty stuff. Usually they had their own matches, but there was none of this stuff. None of it. So if you showed up with a Glock 17, you were shooting limited minor with 17 round magazines. If you showed up like this guy with a Colt 45, you were shooting major, but you were only shooting 10 round mags. You're shooting against Paras and these McCormick Trips, which is now STI, which is now Staccato. These guns with 18, 20 round magazines, and I'm shooting 10 rounds in 45. So I bought the wrong equipment based on what someone told me. Or based on what I was telling myself. I got my butt kicked by this kid with a Colt 45 at a match. And I just assumed he beat me because his equipment's better. What do? I go out and buy a Colt 45. And then I show up to my first big match, and I'm watching guys shoot 18 rounds in a row where I would normally have to shoot 6, reload 6, reload 6, and they're just blowing through the stage. I'm like, what in the world? What's going on? And I started learning about equipment better, and by that time, it was too late. I was broke. I was making 18 grand a year as a police officer. I didn't make anything. I had no money, so I barely had enough for reloading supplies. So I said, screw this. I'm not gonna get a new gun. I'm going to do the best I can with the equipment I've got, because out of necessity, obviously. I'm going to do the best I can with the equipment I got. My goal was to make Grandmaster. Setting goals is a big one. Mike talks a lot about setting goals. So listen to Mike and everyone else who sets goals. My goal was to make Grandmaster with a Colt 45 in 10 rounds. Not easy, actually very hard, but still, that was my goal. And I did it. And when I decided at that point, if I make Grandmaster, and I'm not saying if you make Grandmaster, you're a good shooter, because I was also under that delusion. And that's why I got my butt kicked for a whole year as a Grandmaster from 99 to 2000, because I thought, okay, it's magical. I've got my Grandmaster card. I'm good now. No, it doesn't work that way. But that was my goal. So I shot enough classifiers, good enough to get my classification to GM. And this is back when they were updating classifiers every 3 or 4 months. It wasn't like today. And so I did it. I got it. And then I bumped up to an STI. I actually had won an STI in 98 at Nationals. I won a frame. I gave it to a guy. I said, build me a gun, but don't give it to me until I say, give you the green light. And I made Grandmaster in the end of 98, beginning of 99. I shot my first match as a Grandmaster with an STI at a 3-gun match or something. I don't know. So yes, your equipment, your good equipment helps. But good equipment will not help you become the next level shooter. The only thing that will do that will be discipline, practice, repetition, and staying consistent with the training, right? Not just train a whole lot on a day and then not touching the gun again for a week. It doesn't work that way. It's consistency. It's dedication. I was consistent. I was dedicated. I dry fired every day for a year. I mean, every day, like Christmas. When I was sick, when I wasn't feeling good, I dry fired 30 minutes to an hour every single day for a year. I did that, I think, in 97 or 98. I can't remember. And it helped. It worked. Obviously, it made a big impact for me. And I made Grandmaster the very next year, which was kind of a big deal with that kind of gun. So train consistently, train correctly. And, and then at that point, when you get good enough, you'll start to realize, okay, maybe my equipment is holding me back. Or maybe you'll be in a position where I'm going to test this other gun, this X5 Legion, we'll say, which is awesome. I'll test this X5 Legion to see if Phil Strader really knows what he's talking about and if my recoil is that much lower. And when you see that you're getting less recoil, then you're going to be good enough, skilled enough because of your practice and your discipline and your consistency to know that, okay, now that the gun's recoiling less, I can now shoot faster and still get good hits on target. So as a new shooter, you're not going to realize that. You're just going to think that you just get the gun and now you can shoot faster based on not having the knowledge that you learned from becoming a better shooter. So you're right. It's the whole arrow Indian conversation. And I'm not saying if you're a really cool Indian, don't get a bunch of crappy arrows, but you're definitely going to see the difference of a crappy arrow versus a good arrow if you're a good Indian. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think my brother Jeff Brown is on this morning. He says it's the same thing with golf clubs. Yeah, it's absolutely the same thing. What does Tiger use? Okay, I got to go buy those, and I'm going to get his golf swing. And it doesn't work that way. But humans, there's something weird about us. We think that is the case, and that's just not the case. The final question I have for you, Phil, I appreciate you being on here for almost going on an hour and 40 minutes now. I wanted to talk about red dots, man. I know you grew up on iron sights like me, but red dots, man, are they the future?
I think they are. I think so. It just the red dots are not my cup of tea. I shoot red dots well. I shoot carry optics very well. It doesn't mean I enjoy it as much. The red dot shows you a lot. If you're a new shooter, it shows you what you need to see. It shows you a much easier sight picture to deal with, a lot less work involved. As an experienced shooter, it shows you too much. It shows you your shakiness. It shows you when you're setting up on a position. It shows a lot of the movement of the dot. It shows you things you don't necessarily want to see. But because it makes, for a new shooter, because it makes hard shots easier, it builds that confidence of the new shooter. It makes them more confident to carry the gun or to shoot the gun. So I do think that the more you start to see gun companies come up with new guns, the more you're going to see the optic readiness of it. I mean, I'm happy to say we were one of the first companies to do that. I'm also, proud to say that, I saw that coming when I was president of USPSA. I saw that on the horizon, and, I worked with the board to create carry optics division. So I think carry optics division, along with a few other divisions, has kind of deteriorated into not the initial intent, I'll say, but it's still there. And I do think that it enhances the trend towards easier shooting, which usually transcends to red dots. And now you're seeing red dot technology come out that's more durable and lasts longer, and takes a lot of those question marks out of it, because that's the real thing is, there's question marks as the red dot. Nobody wants to put their life, on a battery. Well, as the dot technology increases, it gets better and better and better. I think you're going to start seeing some technology out there that's pretty hard to beat. And, Sig Optics, we have the Romeo 2, which is something we've been teasing for a long time. That thing's coming out, and that is a tank. And I would carry that on my gun all day long. It is an incredible optic. I can't wait for it to come out and see what people think of it. But it makes carrying an optic more viable, because it's almost impossible to hurt this thing. And the battery lasts forever, like 10 years or 8 years or something crazy.
Yeah.
But that's just one example. There's other companies out there that are coming out with really good optics as well. And I think it's becoming more viable. Obviously, there are some liabilities to red dot shooting that I think law enforcement, especially law enforcement in military, they have to make sure they make adjustments to their training to address those new liabilities, such as, obviously the optic getting dirty or blood on it or breaking or having a backup plan. But they're trainable, obviously. It adds another element to training. But I can tell you that administrators like it. These chiefs of police, they love them because, and here's another rant, but chiefs of police, they equate your qualification score to your level of training. You know this. I mean, this better than anybody. Yeah. And if they see qualification scores go up because their officers have red dots, then now they're automatically assuming that their officers are better trained. Our training levels went through the roof. Well, no, they didn't. Your guys were able to shoot on a square environment a little better because those hard 25-yard kneeling shots or whatever have now just become easier to make. It doesn't mean your training is better. It just means your scores are better. But unfortunately, and if you're a chief of police and you're listening to this, higher scores in your department don't mean they're better trained. And it also doesn't mean they're going to be likely to hit a target better or a suspect better. It just means they can hit a piece of paper better. Are you listening, chiefs of police out there? You should be. So, but yes, red dot shooting does make the hard shots easier for most shooters. And I think it's going to trend up as it has been. Carry optics is probably one of the most popular divisions in shooting sports right now, just because they're easy, they're fun. People with old eyes like me can shoot them. But you think I'd like it more than I do, because I can see the dot pretty well. But yeah, I think it's going to keep trending up. I think it's going to do well. I think you're going to see a lot more police officers carrying them, simply because of the reasons we talked about. And maybe the red dot will get police officers who typically don't like to shoot, right? They don't like going to quals. They don't like doing it because it's a dreadful time. It's nerve-wracking for a lot of them. But now they're going to have that confidence to go to the range and shoot a good score all the time. Maybe that'll get them more apt to train more and shoot more. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a it has a side effect that's good for law enforcement. That's hopeful thinking, but it's not unrealistic, you know.
Well, we were just training last week in a major department, and they fully embrace the red dot. But here's a concern I have, one of those laws of unintended consequences. You put let's say the agency's running a Glock 22, you got a $350, $400 gun that they're buying those things for, whatever. You put a weapon mounted light on it. Now you're running $200 or $300 for that Streamlight or Surefire on there. And then you put an RMR on the optic on the gun. The price of the gun went from $350, $400 to probably $1,000 or more for that gun. Now, where are you cutting that out of your budget? Are you cutting it out of training? Because like you said, Phil, you see qualification scores go up, so we don't need as much money for training. I fear those kind of unintended consequences. Is that unrealistic?
No, it's not. And in fact, I think a way around that maybe is the light thing. It's hard to argue because that's absolutely imperative to have a light on your duty gun. Absolutely. I think that should be budgeted regardless.
Yep.
That is a huge contributor to better shooting and the environment that a police officer is going to experience. Right.
Yep.
Red dots, though, I think for me as an administrator, if I were an administrator, I would obviously encourage the use of a red dot. But I would probably set my guns up as far as what I would issue to officers as optic ready, maybe. Have them train on optics if they want. Have them train on iron sights for sure, because that's kind of your backup. You got to know how to use your backup, and then leave it up to the officers for an approved optic on their gun, and let them make that choice. And most officers, like I said, they're going to choose a red dot. They'll spend the money because maybe they want to be able to shoot better. But you're right. It is a concern that your cost of your gun goes up. It's a matter of budgeting. And then you have to convince your city council or whoever's giving you the budget, hey, this is what we need, this much more money to equip these guns with this dot. And this is the benefit it's going to have. Then maybe they'll go on board. But yeah, you're right. It's got to come from somewhere. And I think flashlight's a no-brainer. I think red dot could be left up to the officer maybe. But that's kind of my opinion.
Yeah, and ironically enough, my brother-in-law, who's a chief of police, he's on here this morning. He said it's totally different when you're being shot at as opposed to shooting paper targets. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, no doubt.
No kidding. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, Phil, I've had you on here almost 2 hours, brother. Anything else that you have?
No, I think we've covered everything. Obviously, my advice to everyone is pay attention. Pay attention to what's going on with your government, with your local government, your leadership. It seems crazy to say, but get involved at the local level and eventually work your way up, and stay involved with as much as you can. Right. Not just, that goes for everything. Stay involved with your personal goals, your personal training. Stay connected with your abilities as a shooter, your abilities as a person who can carry a lot. Stay connected with your environment as politically. Know where you're at. Know where your head's at. Know who you're voting for. Know why you're voting. It's just a general message of we're in very questionable times these days, and change comes from the lower levels, and we have to be that lower level. So that would be my suggestion. Obviously, if you're going to buy a gun, buy a SIG. Obviously, that would be another suggestion. But no, it's been cool to be on. I enjoyed it. I should probably keep you guys on. I should just call my boss so your audience can listen to see how mad he is at me. But anyway, it's been a pleasure to be on. I love hanging out with you, and it'll be interesting to see how many comments you get, because I think I went off the rails a few times, but it's fun. I enjoyed it.
Well, thanks for being on, Phil. We'll have to do it again, brother, if you're up for it here in the future.
Definitely. I'll try to make sure I don't have meetings scheduled all around it next time.
All right, guys, listen, Stay safe out there. Phil, thanks again for being on the show. Thanks for everything you do for our community and continue to do every single day, brother. We really appreciate it. And remember, folks, the fight is coming. Be ready.